Has someone you love begun to exhibit subtle but concerning changes over the past year? Many people operate under the assumption that death in old age occurs suddenly and unexpectedly. But the truth, often more nuanced, is that the body frequently sends out quiet warning signals, sometimes months, even up to a year, before life reaches its final stage. The problem is that most people miss these crucial signs, largely because they seem small or easily explained away at first glance. It's often only later, in retrospect, that families realize the subtle clues were, in fact, present all along. But unfortunately, by then, it's generally far too late to adequately prepare, too late to ensure that those last, precious memories truly count. In this informative and compassionate video, we're going to carefully discuss 6 key signs that frequently appear a year or so before an elderly person passes away. Some of these indicators might be things you've perhaps already noticed but have dismissed or brushed off as simply being part of the normal aging process. Others might be changes that initially seem quite minor and inconsequential, but actually signal the body's gradual but steady decline in overall function. Recognizing these important signs early on provides you with a valuable opportunity to provide enhanced care, cherish those increasingly meaningful moments, and most importantly, ensure that your loved one's final stage of life is characterized by comfort, dignity, and peace. As a way of showing your support for our efforts, you can consider subscribing to Old Age Wisdom today and sharing our channel with your social media network. Stay with us until the end of this important video, because understanding these 6 key signs can help you prepare emotionally and practically for what lies ahead. When you gain a deeper understanding of what's actually happening within the body, you won't be caught completely off guard, feeling lost and overwhelmed. Instead, you'll be empowered to make the most of the precious time you have remaining with those you love, creating lasting memories. Before we begin, I would genuinely appreciate it if you could take a quick moment to like this video. Your simple action helps me continue sharing more important lessons and insights with our growing community. If you haven't subscribed to Old Age Wisdom yet, I highly recommend hitting that subscribe button right now and turning on that notification bell so you don't miss any of our valuable future videos filled with practical advice. Also, to help me create the best possible content for you, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with the number 1 below. If, on the other hand, there was something you didn't appreciate about the video or how I presented the information, comment with the number 0. That feedback will help me improve my approach and create content that's even more helpful and engaging for you in the future. Now, without further ado, let's get started by exploring our first key sign. 1. Significant weight loss. There comes a moment when you begin to notice the changes, not all at once in a dramatic fashion, but gradually, little by little. A favorite sweater suddenly hangs more loosely than before. A belt that once fit perfectly now needs another hole punched. Meals that were once enjoyed with enthusiasm are now met with quiet reluctance. At first, you might think, maybe they're just not as hungry these days. Maybe it's just part of getting older. But deep down, something doesn't quite feel right. Unintentional weight loss in an elderly loved one isn't just a simple shift in appetite. It's often the body's way of quietly whispering that something deeper and more concerning is happening. As people age, it's perfectly natural to lose some muscle mass, a condition known as sarcopenia. But when the pounds start shedding rapidly and seemingly without any effort, it's a telltale sign that the body is struggling in some way. The digestive system might not be absorbing nutrients the way it once did. The ability to process protein effectively declines, leading to muscle wasting and a gradual loss of overall strength. And this isn't just about physical appearance or fitting into clothes. It's about the fundamental ability to stand, to move, and to maintain independence in daily life. The body weakens, and suddenly simple tasks, like walking across the room or getting out of a comfortable chair, become daunting challenges. And then there's the appetite itself. Food gradually loses its appeal. Taste buds fade, and the crucial signals that once told the brain, "I'm hungry," become weaker and less frequent. It's not a conscious choice. It's often the body quietly preparing for a significant transition. For families, witnessing this unsettling change can feel like an unbearable weight on the heart. You want to fix it. You offer their favorite meals, carefully prepared with love. You bring protein shakes and nutritional supplements. You gently urge them to eat just a little more. But sometimes, no matter what you do, the weight continues to slip away. It's a cruel reality, one that feels impossible to fully accept. Yet, understanding this subtle shift isn't about giving up hope. It's about making sure that, in this particular stage of life, their comfort comes first. It's a time for the provision of respect, not force. Please consider subscribing to Old Age Wisdom if you feel that our content could add value to your life. It's in these moments, when the weight loss becomes undeniable and those carefully prepared meals go largely untouched, that we have to consciously shift our focus. Instead of seeing it as a battle to be won, we must see it as an opportunity to offer love in a different, more profound way. If forcing meals clearly isn't the answer, then what is? Comfort, peace, dignity. Instead of pressuring them to eat, we can provide foods that are easier for them to enjoy, offering small portions of their favorite flavors, sips of warm soup, soft, ripe fruits, or even just a soothing cup of herbal tea. Hydration becomes even more important than heavy meals, and the overarching goal is no longer about gaining weight, but about making sure they feel consistently cared for, without unnecessary stress or struggle. But the most important form of nourishment doesn't come from food, it comes from conscious presence. It comes from the warmth of a hand held gently, the reassurance of familiar voices, the quiet moments spent together without any expectations. This is where true care happens, when we stop focusing on what is actively being lost and start focusing, instead, on what can still be cherished. We shift from sadness and frustration to a renewed sense of purpose. Maybe they can't eat the way they used to, but they can still deeply enjoy a favorite song playing softly in the background. Maybe they can't sit at the dinner table for long, but they can still find immense comfort in hearing their loved ones talk and laugh nearby. Weight loss may indeed be a sign of the body preparing for its final transition, but that doesn't mean we are powerless. We can still give them the most valuable gift of all, our unwavering love, our abundant patience, and our willingness to walk beside them, making each remaining moment deeply meaningful. Because in the end, it's not primarily about what they eat. It's fundamentally about how they feel, and the very best thing they can feel is the absolute certainty that they are not alone. 2. Extreme fatigue and weakness. There's something profoundly heartbreaking about watching someone you deeply love begin to gradually fade, not in a sudden, dramatic way, but in the slow, quiet decline that debilitating exhaustion often brings. At first, it's subtle. They sit down more often. They take longer to finish simple tasks. They seem less interested in activities they once thoroughly enjoyed. You tell yourself, they just need more rest. They'll surely feel better after a good nap. But the unsettling truth is that, no matter how much they sleep, the fatigue never really goes away completely. This isn't just normal tiredness. It's the body quietly preparing for a significant transition. As vital organ function gradually slows down, circulation weakens, and overall energy reserves shrink, even the simplest movements require immense effort. Walking across the room feels like climbing a steep mountain. Getting dressed in the morning becomes an exhausting ordeal. Even holding a brief conversation can completely drain them. And for someone who was once fiercely independent and full of life, this gradual loss of strength and energy can be truly devastating. The deep frustration is often clearly visible in their eyes, the quiet longing to do more, to be who they used to be, but their bodies simply won't cooperate. If you are finding value in the content we create, please feel free to subscribe to Old Age Wisdom. For families, witnessing this slow but steady change is incredibly painful. You desperately want to encourage them, to help them push through the fatigue, to keep them active, because you firmly believe that continued movement will somehow keep them strong. But what if the most helpful thing you can realistically do is simply let them rest? Fighting against the persistent fatigue won't stop it. It will likely only make them feel even more defeated and discouraged. Instead of primarily focusing on what they can no longer do, we must consciously shift our focus to making their moments of wakefulness as peaceful, comfortable, and deeply meaningful as possible. Their physical energy may be gradually fading, but our unconditional love certainly does not have to. If fatigue is the body's way of signaling that it's purposefully slowing down, then our role is not to resist it, but to embrace it with understanding and compassionate care. This is the time to gently shift our primary focus from actively trying to keep them physically active to making sure they feel safe, unconditionally loved, and genuinely at peace. Instead of constantly urging them to get up and move around, we can thoughtfully adjust their immediate world to meet them exactly where they are. Maybe that means carefully placing a cozy chair near a sunny window, where they can still fully enjoy the warmth and brightness of the sunlight without exerting themselves. Maybe it means simply sitting beside them quietly, gently holding their hand, letting them drift in and out of restful sleep without any sense of worry or obligation. The most difficult part of this long process is often the significant emotional toll that it takes on both the person experiencing the physical decline and those who love them. For many seniors, losing their physical strength feels almost like losing their independence, their dignity, and even their sense of personal identity. They may experience feelings of guilt, profound embarrassment, or even simmering resentment toward their own body. This is why reassurance, constant validation, and gentle reminders of their unwavering worth are so critically important. Let them know, through your words and your actions, that their value as a human being has never been tied to what they can actively do, and that simply being here, in this present moment, is truly enough. Speak to them with heartfelt kindness, remind them of their enduring value, and allow them the grace to rest without any sense of shame or regret. And for families, this is the time to cherish the fleeting small moments. If they are awake and alert, make those minutes count. Talk to them softly, share cherished memories, and play their favorite song. If they are deeply tired, let them sleep peacefully, knowing they are not alone. Fatigue may be inevitable, but suffering certainly doesn't have to be. With unwavering love, abundant patience, and a consistent focus on comfort, we can transform these final stages into something not primarily filled with fear and sadness, but instead filled with warmth, dignity, and a deep sense of inner peace. 3. Increased cognitive confusion or withdrawal. There is a certain subtle heartbreak in watching someone you love begin to gradually forget. At first, it might seem like simple, harmless absent-mindedness, forgetting where they placed their glasses, repeatedly asking a question they had just asked moments before, struggling to recall the name of an old friend. But then, the moments of confusion become more frequent and more pronounced. A familiar place suddenly feels unfamiliar. A loved one's face is met with a hesitant, searching gaze. Conversations become scattered and disjointed, as if their precious thoughts are slipping through their fingers like grains of sand. If you enjoy this video, please make sure that you subscribe to Old Age Wisdom so that you'll never miss any of our future uploads. It's easy to dismiss these concerning moments at first, to convince yourself that it's just a normal part of the aging process. But deep down, you begin to realize that something more profound is quietly happening. This is not just normal forgetfulness. It is a slow, quiet unraveling of the mind, a subtle withdrawal from the world they once knew so well. And for the person experiencing it firsthand, the pervasive fear can be overwhelming. Imagine waking up one day and feeling inexplicably lost and disoriented in your own home, or looking at the face of someone you deeply love and struggling to remember their name. The frustration, the sadness, the quiet terror of knowing that something is significantly changing, but not knowing how to stop it. It is a heavy burden that no one should ever have to bear alone. For family members, witnessing this slow cognitive decline is one of the most painful and challenging experiences imaginable. You desperately try to ground them in reality, to remind them of what they are forgetting, to gently pull them back when they begin to drift away into confusion. But sometimes, no matter how hard you try, they are already too far gone in that moment. And that is where the real challenge lies, not in desperately trying to bring them back to the world they once knew, but in gracefully meeting them where they are, in whatever world their mind has momentarily created for them. When a loved one begins to withdraw into increasing cognitive confusion, our natural instinct is often to try to correct them, to remind them, to pull them back into the present moment. But sometimes, the greatest act of love is not in forcing them to accurately remember, but in joining them in their world, wherever that may be. If they ask about a parent who passed away long ago, instead of saying, "They're gone, don't you remember?" which may only bring them distress, perhaps it's gentler to simply say, "Tell me about them. What do you remember most fondly?" If they forget the current year or mistakenly identify you as someone else, perhaps the best response isn't one of frustration, but one of calm patience. Because in those particular moments, logic and factual accuracy aren't what they desperately need. What they truly need is comfort, consistent security, and the unwavering feeling that they are not lost and alone in the confusing fog of their own mind. As difficult as it is to watch someone slip away from their own memories and from your shared reality, there is still abundant love to be shared and precious moments to hold on to. A song from their youth might bring back a flicker of recognition. The gentle warmth of your hand and theirs might constantly remind them that they are safe, even if they cannot always find the words to express it. Even if their eyes sometimes seem distant and unfocused, they can still deeply feel your love. They can still tangibly feel your unwavering presence. For families, this is not an easy road to travel. It is painful to be forgotten, even temporarily, by someone who once knew you so intimately. But in these tender moments, love is not primarily measured by what they consciously remember. It is measured, instead, by the enduring patience and unconditional kindness you consistently show, by the gentle way you choose to walk alongside them, even when the path ahead is uncertain and shrouded in fog. Their precious memories may inevitably fade, but your genuine love undeniably remains, and in the end, that is what they will feel the most. 4. Frequent infections and slow healing. There's a unique and often unspoken kind of heartbreak in watching someone you deeply love gradually become more physically fragile. It's not just the noticeably slower steps or the growing need for consistent assistance with basic tasks. It's the way their body inexplicably struggles against even the smallest external threats. A simple cold lingers far longer than it should. A tiny scratch inexplicably takes weeks to fully heal. A once healthy person who rarely needed to see a doctor now seems trapped in an endless, exhausting cycle of recurring infections and pervasive fatigue. And no matter how much attentive care you provide, no matter how many medications or treatments they receive, their body no longer responds the way it once did. It is one of the most painful truths about the final stage of life. The immune system steadily weakens, and recovery becomes increasingly uncertain. If you have found this helpful, please feel free to share old age wisdom with your friends and family. What used to be relatively minor illnesses now become serious setbacks. Pneumonia, urinary tract infections, and even small skin wounds can inexplicably escalate into something life-threatening. The body, once strong and remarkably resilient, no longer fights back as fiercely as before. And for the person experiencing this gradual decline, it can feel like an exhausting battle they never consciously signed up for. Families often face an impossible choice. Do you aggressively push for further treatments, desperately hoping to buy more time? Or do you consciously step back, realizing that sometimes the very best thing you can offer isn't another round of potentially debilitating medication, but peace and quiet comfort? There is no easy answer to this agonizing question. But what truly matters in these challenging moments is not just keeping them alive at any cost. It's about ensuring that whatever time remains is filled with unconditional love, unwavering dignity, and as little unnecessary suffering as possible. Because when the body grows weary, when infections become too frequent and overwhelming to effectively fight, the most important medicine isn't necessarily found in a prescription from a doctor. It's found, instead, in the consistent presence of those who genuinely care. When a loved one enters this difficult stage, where infections become frequent, wounds stubbornly refuse to heal, and the body no longer has the strength to fight the way it once did, our natural instinct is to do absolutely everything humanly possible to keep them here with us. We desperately search for stronger treatments, repeatedly ask doctors for more aggressive interventions, and hold tightly to the hope that one more hospital stay or one more round of antibiotics will somehow miraculously turn things around. But as incredibly difficult as it is to consciously accept, there inevitably comes a time when the body is clearly telling us something different. It is not necessarily giving up. It is simply growing weary, signaling that what it desperately needs now is not another fierce battle, but genuine and lasting peace. This is where love gracefully takes on a new form. Instead of primarily focusing on curing, we consciously shift our focus to consistently comforting. We focus on the seemingly small things that bring them palpable relief, keeping their hands warm, carefully adjusting their pillows so they can breathe easier, offering gentle touches that constantly remind them that they are not alone. We stop measuring success by medical improvements and, instead, begin to measure it by their increasing ease, their overall calmness, their ability to rest comfortably without prolonged struggle. Because sometimes, the greatest gift we can ever possibly give is the loving permission to stop fighting. For families, this profound realization is often one of the hardest things to consciously face. The idea of stepping back from aggressive medical treatments can easily feel like giving up. But in truth, it is actually an act of selfless love. It is choosing to prioritize their comfort and their dignity over our own very natural fear of losing them. It is openly recognizing that, in the end, what truly matters most is not necessarily how long they stay with us, but how peacefully they transition. And if we can actively make their final days as free of pain as possible, consistently filled with warmth and surrounded by unconditional love, then we have given them exactly what they desperately need most. 5. Changes in sleep patterns or circadian rhythm. At first, it may seem like nothing more than a subtle shift in their routine. Naps stretching longer into the afternoon, an early bedtime that gradually creeps earlier and earlier, nights filled with increasingly restless awakenings. But then, the overall pattern gradually deepens. The days become a disorienting blur of sleep and drowsy wakefulness, with noticeably fewer moments of true alertness. Conversations are frequently interrupted by sudden dozing. Enjoyable meals go untouched, as overwhelming exhaustion takes over. And soon, your loved one is spending more time deeply asleep than consciously awake. It occurs so gradually and so quietly that you may not even fully realize, at first, that this isn't just a matter of simple fatigue. It's actually the body purposefully preparing for something far more profound. This gradual change in sleep patterns is often one of the body's final transitions, a subtle sign that energy is being carefully conserved for what lies ahead. As the brain and central nervous system slowly begin to decelerate, the natural circadian rhythm, the body's internal clock, gradually begins to break apart. The body, recognizing its own decline, consciously starts regulating itself in a different way, prioritizing deep rest over prolonged wakefulness, and gently withdrawing from the external world in an almost dreamlike manner. Some may even lose track of time, mistakenly confusing night for day, unable to easily distinguish between waking life and vivid dreams. It's not a conscious decision, nor is it something that can readily be reversed with artificial stimulation or forceful encouragement. It's simply the body's elegant way of easing itself into a place of profound inner peace. Please consider becoming a part of our community and subscribing to Old Age Wisdom. For families, this particular change can be a very difficult adjustment. The instinctive reaction is to try to keep them actively engaged, to try to gently wake them up for shared meals, for meaningful conversations, or for just one more shared moment. But this profound change is not something to fight. It is something to gracefully honor. Forcing wakefulness can often bring more distress than comfort, leaving them feeling more exhausted and disoriented. Instead, this is the time to consciously shift our overall perspective, to recognize that, in this deepening rest, there is a quiet kind of grace. As hard as it is to watch someone you love gradually drift further into sleep, the kindest thing you can do is simply accept this inevitable transition with abundant love and unwavering patience. Instead of trying to force them back into the rigid routine they once had, consciously create an environment that gracefully honors their body's current needs. Let them rest without any guilt or feelings of obligation, without any sense of external urgency. Dim the lights in their room, play soft, soothing music, and surround them with the familiar warmth of home. When they are momentarily awake, use those fleeting moments gently. Speak to them softly, hold their hand comfortingly, and constantly remind them that they are not alone. These quiet times may indeed feel fleeting, but they often hold more profound meaning than any forced conversation ever could. Many families naturally fear that too much sleep means they are somehow slipping away faster, and in a very real sense, that is true. But this is not something to actively fear. It is something to embrace with grace and profound understanding. The body is no longer primarily focused on external movement, on hunger, or on the daily obligations of life. Instead, it is consciously shifting toward deep rest, significantly reducing pain, easing pervasive discomfort, and gracefully preparing for lasting peace. This is precisely why awakening them unnecessarily or urging them to stay awake just a little longer often brings only distress. Their body is not failing. It is gracefully letting go in the gentlest way possible. For loved ones, this stage is undoubtedly heartbreaking. You may long for more time, for more cherished conversations, for just one more shared moment of laughter. But love is not accurately measured by how many words are spoken or how many hours are spent awake together. Love is found instead in your quiet presence, in the gentle way you adjust their blankets, and in the way you whisper, "I'm here." Love is ultimately in the graceful letting go and allowing them to sleep peacefully, knowing they are not alone. And when that final, inevitable rest finally comes, as painful as it surely is, take profound comfort in knowing that you did absolutely everything you could, not by holding on too tightly, but by consistently making sure that, in their last precious moments, they felt nothing but abiding love, encompassing warmth, and the deepest sense of profound peace. 6. Major changes in breathing or circulation. There's a certain weight in the air, a palpable shift in atmosphere, when you first begin to notice the change. The steady, effortless breathing that once went completely unnoticed now becomes something you intentionally listen for, something you consciously watch with careful attention. The pauses between breaths seem noticeably longer. Their chest subtly rises and falls in a slow, somewhat uneven rhythm. Sometimes they gasp slightly, as if trying to catch something that isn't quite there. Other times, they breathe so softly that you find yourself almost holding your own breath, silently waiting for the next one to come. Breathing changes in the final stage of life are undeniably one of the hardest things for families to consciously witness. It's an undeniable sign that the body is beginning to conserve its remaining energy, purposefully redirecting its focus inward. The heart isn't pumping as strongly as it once did. Circulation steadily slows, and the body prioritizes only the most essential functions. Hands and feet grow consistently cold. Lips may even take on a somewhat bluish hue, and simple movements leave them breathless. You may notice them needing to sit upright more often, struggling to find a comfortable position where their lungs feel less heavy. It's not just physical discomfort. It's the body plainly signaling that it is beginning to significantly slow down. Before I carry on, please feel free to like and share our channel, Old Age Wisdom. For family members, these moments bring an overwhelming sense of helplessness. You desperately want to fix it, to somehow help them breathe easier, to magically make it all go away. But sometimes, there is simply no way to fundamentally change what is happening, and that is where love must gracefully take on a new form. Not in frantically trying to fight against the inevitable, but in consistently making sure that every remaining breath is surrounded by comfort, by warmth, and by profound peace. Because even when spoken words fade, and even when breath becomes increasingly shallow, the constant presence of a loving hand, a soothing voice, or a quiet moment spent together can bring more genuine comfort than any medical intervention ever could. When a loved one's breathing begins to noticeably change, it's natural to feel overwhelmed with both fear and profound sadness. Every slow inhale and every prolonged pause between breaths feels like a painful reminder of what's inevitably coming. But in these deeply tender moments, the most powerful thing we can possibly do is consciously shift our focus from actively trying to change the impending outcome to consistently making their overall journey as peaceful as possible. This is not primarily about fixing or prolonging. It is about ensuring that they feel consistently safe, remarkably comfortable, and most importantly, unconditionally loved. There are many simple, yet meaningful ways to bring genuine comfort. Keeping the room relatively cool, using a gentle fan or humidifier, and propping them up comfortably with pillows can all help ease labored breathing. Soft blankets, warm hands, and familiar scents can create a profound sense of security. Gentle music, whispered reassurances, or simply sitting in silence beside them can bring more peace than words ever could. Even if they can't verbally respond, they can still feel your consistent presence. They may not be able to clearly say it, But in those final, tender moments, your unwavering love is what they will hold on to the most. For families, this is often an excruciating time. The burning desire to do something, to actively intervene, to somehow stop what's naturally happening, is truly overwhelming. But sometimes, the greatest act of love is allowing them to simply rest, to gracefully let go without lingering fear, knowing they are absolutely not alone. It is in these incredibly tender moments that love speaks the loudest, not in desperate attempts to keep them here against all odds, but in the quiet, unwavering presence that gently says, "You are safe. You are deeply loved. You can rest now." And when that final breath inevitably does come, as painful as it certainly is, take immense comfort in knowing that you did everything you possibly could, not by holding on too tightly, but by lovingly making sure that, in their very last moments, they felt nothing but profound love, encompassing warmth, and the deepest sense of lasting peace. Life teaches us that every transition, even the most difficult ones, carries a unique lesson in love, profound patience, and graceful acceptance. As we thoughtfully grow older, we gradually begin to understand that not every battle necessarily needs to be fought. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in gracefully surrendering to the inevitable with unwavering dignity. The body changes, the mind slows, and sleep deepens, not as a sign of weakness, but as a quiet preparation for lasting peace. These poignant moments constantly remind us to truly cherish the present, to embrace intentional stillness, and to find abiding meaning in the remarkable beauty of simplicity. The inherent value of a life is not solely measured by how long we stay awake or by how much we actively accomplish. It is measured instead by the enduring love we generously share and by the abiding comfort we consistently give to those around us. Whether we are actively caring for others or walking our own unique path of aging, we must always remember that profound peace comes not from fearfully resisting the passage of time, but from accepting it gracefully, with open hands and a loving, open heart. Let us always honor life's natural rhythm, not with apprehension and fear, but with profound gratitude, fully knowing that every phase, even the final one, is filled with precious opportunities to love, to be deeply loved, and to leave behind a lasting legacy of warmth, unwavering dignity, and profound human connection. Thank you so much for following along with us until the very end of this important video. Don't forget to show your support by clicking that valuable like button and thoughtfully subscribing to our channel. This directly supports our ongoing efforts and allows me to continue creating valuable content specifically for you. Please leave your thoughtful comments and reflections below. Your active participation is always greatly appreciated. Feel free to openly express yourself, and remember to always stay positive. See you next time. Your personal experiences, insight, and perspectives matter tremendously, especially when it comes to making highly personal decisions about elder care. Choosing the right care solution for your aging loved ones can often feel overwhelmingly difficult. But hearing about real-life successes and challenges from others who have already navigated these sometimes treacherous paths can provide invaluable guidance, constant comfort, and much-needed hope. Maybe you've personally discovered the quiet joy and inherent dignity that in-home care or assisted living can offer. Or perhaps your family found renewed meaning and deeper connection by lovingly welcoming a senior into your own family home. Perhaps you've fully explored the rewarding companionship and unwavering independence of senior co-housing, significantly benefited from the resources of adult daycare, or felt deeply supported through compassionate hospice care during an incredibly challenging time. Whatever your particular experience has been, generously sharing your heartfelt story can significantly empower other families, helping them realize they are certainly not alone, and that practical, compassionate alternatives to traditional nursing homes truly do exist. Your valuable insights could directly inspire others to make informed, thoughtful choices that significantly enhance the overall quality of life for countless seniors. If you've personally found a better path for elderly care, please share your journey and any hard-earned wisdom in the comments section below. Your words could be exactly what someone else desperately needs to hear right now to gain the confidence and unwavering determination to pursue a better quality of life for their own beloved loved ones.